Welcome to Manifested Publishers.
Welcome. My name is Stephen Kariungi, and today we are going to continue with the topic of classification 1, and specifically I would want us to discuss the external features of plants and animals that are used for classification. So it is important to ask ourselves which are the external features that are used during the classification of plants and animals. So we'll start with the plants. And we say that in plants, the following features are used. A, we have what we call the simple plants, the plants that do not have very complex structures, such as the moss plant, the liverworts, and so on and so forth. So those ones we classify based on the presence of rhizoids, based on the presence of seta, or the filament, and also the capsule. So those ones we use the rhizoids. Rhizoids look like roots, but they are not true roots. The presence of seta. Seta is a filament that emerges above the surface, and capsule. These ones are used in mosses and liverworts. So those are the structures that we use. If you go to another category of plants, there are some plants that we use structures called the sori, the fronds, and rachis. These are some structures that are found in a little bit more advanced plants, such as used in ferns, the fern plants. But the most common feature that we are very familiar with, of course, the first two will come across them much later when we do classification number 2. But the most common ones of the higher plants that we have, we use the leaves, we use the stem, the roots, we even use the fruits and seeds. These ones are used in flowering plants. The higher plants that we have are the ones that we refer to them as flowering plants. So they basically use these as their external features. Let's also look at which structures we use in animals. In animals, the following features are used in classification. In some animals, we use the wings, beaks, and scales. In birds, those are the features we use to classify birds. We use scales, the number of limbs or legs in reptiles. We use the scales, the fins, and gills in fish, in mammals, we use the mammary glands. We use the number of limbs. We use the fur or hair. We even use an external ear in mammals. Some animals we use locomotory structures. These ones are mainly used in microorganisms, the microscopic organisms. Which structures do they have for locomotion? So basically, those are some of the structures that we use when we are studying classification. So the structures that we use in plants only apply to the plants. Other structures are more suitable when we are classifying the animals, and that's why we use them accordingly in that case. The other thing that I want us to discuss is the importance of classification. We are asking ourselves, why is classification important? And first of all, we say that classification enables grouping of organisms based on similarities and differences. So it helps or we can say that classification enables grouping of living organisms based on similarity in characteristics, another importance of classification also enables grouping organisms for reference, even for future reference. That's for future documentation, for record keeping. It also helps arrange information in an orderly manner. And this is to avoid chaos and confusions which would arise if no classification was done. Lastly, number D, it helps us to understand the evolutionary relationships, that is ancestry of living organisms. where did these organisms come from? So that is basically a very important aspect. The next thing that we're going to do is to have an assignment based on what we have learned. And the first question those are two questions. Identify the features used for classification of plants. And number 2, give 4 reasons why classification is necessary. So we'll stop there until the next lesson. Goodbye.